Hey, it's Jared. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the Sidekick browser, which is a bit different. I haven't talked about a browser or really software like this in a while on this channel, but when I come across something that changes the way that I work for the better, I have to share it. And so we're talking about Sidekick because it's a new way of utilizing a browser, and it's really working out for me well. So I've been a longtime Chrome user, and of course, over the last, I'd say, year and a half or so, I switched over to Brave, which is essentially Chrome, but with a lot of filtering and stuff in place so that you're not being tracked. And I really like the Brave browser experience. I like browsers that are cross-platform and cross-device because that makes my life easier. So I haven't switched to other browsers. I haven't messed with Safari much, even though I'm an Apple user primarily, because I'm switching between iPhones and Androids and Windows devices, and I want something that's cross-platform. So Sidekick came along, and this solves my problem with having lots of tabs open. It solves my problem with jumping between different projects, which is main reason why I have a lot of tabs open. I'll be working on a project and I might have 3 or 4 tabs open for that project, but then I need to jump over to something else, and I don't want to close those tabs down because I want to get back to them, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to have to bring all those back up again, and there's no simple way to easily save that state and then open up another instance without running into issues. I mean, yes, I can open up a whole nother window and minimize, and then I've got a whole bunch of minimized windows down below, but that's just kind of a messy process. Sidekick solved that problem by introducing sessions. A browser session is essentially a window that allows you to have multiple tabs, and then you can have other sessions saved, which is kind of like having multiple bookmarked groupings of tabs. So I could jump between different sessions, and what's great about that is that it minimizes all of that and kind of halts the usage of resources. Google Chrome and a lot of browsers are just very resource hungry and end up destroying the battery life of your computer or just slowing down your computer in general. And so what Sidekick does when you jump into another session is it freezes that session and doesn't allow it to take up any memory while you're utilizing your other session. And then you, when you need to go back, you can jump into that other session. So what I've decided to do, which has worked out really well, is created sessions for any of the projects that I'm working on. That means whatever browser windows I need and tabs that I need open in order to work on that project, those can all stay in that session. And then if I need to stop on that session and go work on something else, I just jump into that session. Absolutely fantastic. Another problem that it solves is the need to have a bunch of software open. If I'm using Zoom or Teams, WhatsApp, Discord, all of those different apps, Google Calendar, those tend to be opened in something, taking up space or screen real estate, maybe even multiple desktops and stuff like that. And what Sidekick gives you is a quick launch bar over on the side, which makes it easy for you to go and utilize those tools within a browser instance, which means that if you're not currently utilizing that tool, it too is not utilizing any system memory. I've been able to save a substantial amount of system memory by using Sidekick, freeing up a ton of memory for other things. Like I would tend to edit video and still have all of my other windows and everything opened, which would be tough if those applications were running in the background. But as a web browser instance, when they're not brought forward, they're not necessarily running. Now there's settings and stuff you can control there because some things you do want to have persistently running, but it does a great job at halting those instances so that it's not utilizing a ton of system memory. For me, though, the killer feature is the sessions. I found no easy way other than having a whole bunch of windows with tabs that I would minimize and then bring back up from time to time as I was jumping between different projects. Bookmarks never worked well for me. I would utilize Notion to save bookmarks, and then they're in Notion and I have to open them up one by one, and it wasn't a fast process. So I would always end up with a dozen or more tabs open throughout the day, and at the end of the day I'd have to go through and close them so that the next day I wouldn't start with a ton of tabs. And then of course save things if I was needing to go back there on the next day. So my browser was always a disaster. But with Sidekick I haven't really run into that issue. So let's take a look at how that works for me. If I am in Notion, I could just simply click on the Notion tab here and I can access all of my stuff and I can access Notion. I have my sessions listed here, but I can also minimize those sessions. I don't have to have them viewable. It's very easy to get them back. I could just click on Manage Sessions and they're there. And I have all of these different sessions. So you can see I've got these different tabs that are up top here, a grouping of tabs. Now, if I want to jump into another grouping of tabs, I just activate that session. It minimizes the session I was just on and then brings up a new session with all of the tabs that were previously a part of that session, which is absolutely great. That means that for me as a web designer who typically builds everything in browser tabs and utilizes web apps, I can have web apps and tabs open that are specific to that project, and I don't have to have a ton of tabs, even if I'm jumping back and forth between projects, which is absolutely great. But for me also, being able to quickly jump over to TickTick for my tasks and Dropbox and Discord and all that stuff. There's just so many easy ways to access the tools that I am in all the time. This is starting to feel like a super version of Chrome, like maybe it's its own operating system, but it's really not. It's just an application that allows you to bring all of these things together, which you typically would have open in tabs, and structure them well in a very usable way. So with all of the different applications that I have over here on the side, I can add more applications. You can see that there's a massive list of already supported applications that is constantly growing. But even if an application isn't supported here, you can easily make a tab over on the left-hand side. You can add an app very easily just by clicking Add Application, and then you can add from a tab or even add a custom application as well. And so it's very easy to get even more obscure apps that might not be so mainstream over here into the left side column. Sessions, though, is where I spend a majority of my time just jumping between different projects, because I will get a few tasks done and then I'm waiting on my client, and then I'm jumping into another project and I can open up another session to get into that project and then bounce back and forth. That is the killer feature for me. The only thing that I really had to think about and really consider is the fact that I have to save whatever I'm working on. If I'm working on something in a browser, I need to make sure that I save before I exit that session and go into another session, because chances are when I revisit that session, some pages are going to reload again, and I want to make sure that I've saved my state. I learned that lesson immediately the first time I jumped into another session, because I'm used to going from tab to tab, and if you go from tab to tab, as long as you don't spend too much time away from one of those tabs, you're fine. Google Chrome or Brave or whatever hasn't halted that session yet to save memory. So I save, and I make sure that I don't run into that issue. But it's really nice being able to jump into different Zoom sessions, jump into my Proton Mail inbox, jump into Instagram or something like that. There's just so many different ways that I can utilize Sidekick without having to have a bunch of software open. Down in the dock of my Mac, I used to have a whole row of applications that were opened all the time, and now I don't have to do that because I have those open in Sidekick and I can pull them up when I need them. Even social media apps like Twitter, I mentioned Instagram, very easy to pull those up, and then when you don't need them, just go to another application, or even jump over to a different instance, a different session. I want to call them instances, but the Sidekick calls them sessions. So Sidekick has a free and a paid version. The free version is what I'm using right now, but there's an invite system, and if you use my invite code down below and I get 20 invites, then I will have free Sidekick for life, and you can do the same exact thing. But what's really cool is that it's extremely usable without paying any money. There are paid features though, and some of those paid features are going to help you with things like running more applications at once and having more sessions, and then also users as well. So typically in Chrome, you would have your different workspaces or your users up here. They call them active workspaces, and then I can have another workspace. And so, for example, if I have multiple Google accounts, I can have a default Google account for one workspace and then jump over to another workspace, and those also can have their own sessions. So I can have a work life or a business workspace that has all the applications for that. It has all the sessions for work, and then I can have a personal one as well that would have all the applications for personal and all of the sessions for personal. And that is just amazing. It is making my workflow so much better because I'm able to organize and structure my systems in this way. So Sidekick is essentially free forever. You get all of these features here. If you want to go with Sidekick Pro, you're also going to get the multiple workspaces, multiple app accounts, split view, password sharing, all of that good stuff. And it's $8 per month. And then they also have teams that they're working on right now as well. So Sidekick is the first time that I've really seen somebody do something or a company do something different with browsers that actually brings a lot of function and usability to the end user like me, who spends pretty much their entire working day in browser sessions. So definitely check out Sidekick. I've got my invite link down below. Let's help me get to those 20 users. That's the only reason that I'm making this video. Just kidding. I really wanted to share my experiences with Sidekick with all of you, and whether you use my invite link or not to get a free account, it's definitely worth giving a try, especially if you spend a lot of time in the web browser. So that's going to do it for this video. If you found it useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel to be notified when I put out new videos. Make sure to hit that link below, and I'll see you back in the next one soon. Take care.